Hello and welcome to the Feel Good Weddings podcast, a podcast by Polka Dot Wedding. My name is Dorothy, otherwise known as Miss Polka Dot, and I am the founder and editor. I have spent 15 years building a website that is full of your wedding stories, that is full of the ups and downs, the ins and outs, why you chose what you chose. And I'm really excited to have these discussions with you on a podcast. Today, it's even more exciting because I'm handing the reins over to one of my wonderful colleagues, Mary, otherwise known as Miss Rose. Today she's going to be your host and I hope you welcome her with open arms. You're going to love her just as much as I do. The Polka Dot Wedding team is honoured to conduct our work on the land of the BoonWurrung, WoiWorung, Eora and Kuring-gai people. We honour the traditional Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander custodians of the land and we pay our respects to elders past and present. Hello and welcome. Today I am joined by a very special guest, except she's not really a guest. Today she is our host. Not only at Polka Dot Wedding is it just me, Miss Polka Dot, or otherwise known as Dorothy, but I'm also surrounded by an amazing team of people around the world. One of them is our specialty blog editor, Miss Rose, also known as Mary, who is responsible for all the content across our specialty titles at Polka Dot Wedding. So she's in charge of Polka Dot U, Polka Dot Wisdom, Polka Dot Honeymoons, and Polka Dot Maid. And she talks to wedding vendors and couples every single week. So I'm really thrilled today that she is our host, and I'm really excited to introduce you to the person that she's speaking to. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Miss Polka. How are you going?
I'm good. I'm so thrilled about your guest today because I came across her on TikTok some months ago and I'm really excited to hear more of what she has to say. Who are you chatting to?
I am chatting to Peta Morton, otherwise known on her TikTok as Peta Marine, and let me tell you, she is a lot of fun. We had a really, really fun chat. Peta is a marine scientist and a science communicator, so not only is that super cool, she also has this really incredible TikTok, as I mentioned, Peta Marine, and it is based around cosmetics and perfume, and she's really fun and has this fantastic banter. It's like you're speaking to one of your friends about your favourite cosmetic or your favourite fragrance, and that is really what we delved into in our chat, which you're going to love. She really started the chat off in a way that really changed the way I think about fragrance, and she explained it as a really incredible form of science and art coming together to create something beautiful, which I thought was really poetic and really emotive and lovely, which then led into us talking about fragrance for your wedding day, how to choose it, some tips and ideas on how best to pick one together with your partner. She also had some fantastic ideas on how to incorporate fragrance into your wedding day and some really cool ideas that I know that our couples are going to love to hear about because I thought they were fantastic.
Awesome. Cannot wait to hear this one. Let's get into it.
You're going to love it.
Just letting you know, as total podcast newbies, we do have a few issues with today's sound. We have rectified this for future episodes, but do keep that in mind as you're listening.
So I think the best place to start is for you to tell us a bit about yourself, please.
Ooh, wow. Okay, this is, you really do have to stop me if I go too long because
you don't,
the thing about me is that I do a lot of different things and they all have like tangents and avenues.
Very cool.
So the main thing that I see myself as first and foremost is a marine science communicator. So I grew up on the Gold Coast. I grew up around the ocean, and so that's just like the most important thing to me. And I always was really interested in science and academia and things like that. So I've gone into actually learning about it scientifically, and that's a really weird way to say that.
I got it.
So yeah, I went into uni for that and loved it. I'm now in my master's doing marine science, which is so amazing and so much fun. But I have loads of other things that I'm interested in, like public speaking and acting and obviously cosmetics and perfumery and things like that. One of the reasons perfumery like specifically interests me is because I think it's just the most perfect amalgamation of arts and science because the way it's built is literal chemistry. It's just chemistry. That's it. But the way you make it enjoyable and fun and make people want to wear it is art. And that's like how they collide together. And I just think it's so cool to actually see it in action. And perfumers are insanely talented because they have to be really good scientists and also really good creative people. And if you're in science, you kind of know that's hard to come by.
That's from people who I've known who've been one way or the other. Yeah, that is. I think that's a really. You're so right. It's a really special mix of a person who can combine the two and create something so beautiful.
100%.
And so specific, really specific.
Oh, yeah.
To an emotive. That's amazing. I love everything you just said. Was just felt amazing to hear. Like,
okay, well that's good.
Well, that's good. Like I absolutely agree. Like I think that like scent is such a personal thing, but it's not just something that can be thrown together because that can turn very bad.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I love that idea of the science behind the creativity and the art and this lyrical thing that happens when you smell a beautiful scent on someone or the memory that it conjures. So but oh my gosh, so I'm just having a really lovely moment over
I should mention as well, because you're mentioning the emotive and the way that it brings up memories, that's the other science of scent that I really enjoy is the neuroscience behind it, because there is actually some really solid, really interesting like psych and neuroscience that can explain why scent is so linked to memories, which I think is important to what we're talking about today. So I wanted to like just throw that in at the beginning.
It absolutely is. I love it. That's so true. And because weddings, they're hopefully for better, really memorable moments in not just a couple's life, like in their family, their friends, anyone who's there for it. That's a memory you sort of want to harness and keep. And I think that for a wedding, that can be something you can kind of curate.
Oh, absolutely.
In terms of the scent.
Like a tool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Science. Thank you. That's wonderful. Obviously, you're sort of answering this, as what got you interested in scent and perfume, but can you sort of pinpoint, exactly what it was about it or when it was? Like, is there a moment that you went, this is something?
Actually, yes. And it's kind of weird. So essentially in my grade 10 chemistry class, or it might have been grade 11. No, grade 11. My grade 11 chemistry class, we had to do these things called EEIs, which is basically like baby's first research. You just like try and do your very first research project from start to finish, from, conceptualization to writing it up.
Yeah.
I can tell you as a scientist now, we are far off. But, it's a good little dip your toe in the water.
You've got to try. You have to start somewhere. Baby steps.
Exactly. And because my school was an all-girls school and we were reasonably behind the times at this point in time. I don't know how they are now. But at the time...
Hopefully
better. We were told that the EEI had to be relevant to us, so it had to be something cosmetic because we were girls.
Of course, yeah. Whole other conversation.
Whole other conversation. I remember we were all being like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, there was a lot of sass in the room.
Yes, we'll do the assignment.
Precisely. And so me and my lab mates, we were like, we want to do something like actually pretty scientific. We wanted to feel like scientists. We wanted to feel like cool chemistry ladies. And so we were like, you know what's really hard to make? Perfume. So why don't we try and do that in 3 weeks?
Well, like, what? Just do it. Let's just do it. Like, that can't be that difficult.
I mean, every 14-year-old girl knows how this feels when you just have like absolutely unbridled confidence and a god complex, and you're just like, I can do this because I will. And like, to be fair, we did. We actually distilled all of our own ingredients because
are you serious?
It was bad.
That was so cool. Oh, who cares? Like, you're basically granui. Like,
it was a whole thing. I remember we asked the lab assistants, the lab techs. We were like, okay, this is what we need. And we basically went like, you know what smells good? Essential oils. So we just picked out like 3 essential oils that we liked. I think there were lemon, maybe rosemary, and I remember I wanted the woody aspect because I was a very not like the other girls girl for a period of time. So I would not have florals in my fragrance. Not at the time.
No.
But then we also, because it had to be an EI, we had to make something. We had to distill something because we just learned how to do distillation, which is a really cool piece of kit, by the way.
It's very cool.
It's very fun.
It's very fun. It's very technical.
Should I explain the basics of how it works, or is that too much?
No, why not? Look, I'm going to say I'd love to hear it from in a pared down kind of way even because, look, as a background of that, my husband and I, we went a few years ago now to Grasse in France and went to all their beautiful distilleries and made our own perfumes.
Oh, wow.
Sort of the process of it. And I still have my perfume. He still has his scent. What's really funny is that I made mine years ago and I called it, I don't know why, it just came to me. I called it Florence. That's the name of my daughter now. I call my daughter Florence. So it was a really sort of beautiful core memory for me and for him, and we just enjoyed it. And we can still order our
that's good.
scents as well online, which is really, because it's in France. Like, I don't know how to get that.
You don't want to have to rejig it or God forbid ask someone to find you a dupe. That would be so stressful.
Exactly. So that was a roundabout way of saying, yes, please do give me a rundown on distilling and what the process is.
Okay. So essentially the way that distillation works, to the best of my knowledge, now remember I only did first year university chemistry, so I'm not a chemist. I left that lifestyle.
Do it.
But basically you have your heat source. So that's for us usually a Bunsen. And then you put your substance that you want to distill. And there are loads of different molecules that can come out in distillation, scent being one of them. It depends on your material as to what it will smell like. It's not always going to smell the same. Say you distill rosemary. It may not smell like rosemary. It may smell like something else. It may not smell exactly the same because heat will change the molecule that is scent, and it'll also bring out other molecules with it. So essentially what happens is you put the thing that you want in a solution of something else, usually water or alcohol or something like that, or an oil, dependent. And then basically what happens, we used water because we were basic and young and we didn't really know how to do anything else. And then you put that in there and then essentially you heat it up till it's just above boiling point. Now with fragrances, you don't want to heat it. You want to use as little heat as possible because you don't want to break the molecules. Molecules will break with increased energy. It just depends on what molecule, depending on how much energy. There's a whole bunch of stuff involved. But essentially you want to keep it as low as possible. And then when it evaporates your solution, it picks up some of those molecules and takes it with it. And then you put it through this really spinny little tube. And then as it goes through the tube, it cools down because it's being spread out, being exposed to the cold air on the other side. You hope it's cold. It was the Gold Coast. It wasn't super effective.
Yeah.
Better in colder areas.
Yeah.
But as it cools down, it condenses again. It's goes back from steam to a liquid. And then that liquid comes down and then that's your essential oil. Now, there are loads of different things you can do at the other end. That may not be a pure essential oil. I'm sure a lot of essential oil manufacturers do far more to their oils than just distill it once. They can be triple, quadruple distilled. You can do all sorts of filtering and things.
Do you get less each time though?
Yes, it gets more condensed and you get less. And I would say from a basic chemistry point of view, and this could be fact checked, that your product will change because the way you're dealing with molecules is changing. Yeah, but that's how we did our distillation in our Chem EEI. And I remember the first thing we distilled was citrus peels, which are really easy to distill. Almost anyone can do that. It's just throw citrus. They've got oil in them, right? You're just extracting the oil. It's just an easy way of getting it out.
Yeah.
But then we were like, lemon's kind of boring. Maybe we could do something else. We were what else could we distill? And then I think the one that I remember very, very clearly is I was like, I want this to be a woody fragrance. And in my head, you could distill anything, which is, spoiler alert, not true. You can try, but it doesn't always work.
Give it a go. Yeah, no. Throwing things in.
But we were just kind of assuming at the time that if we threw something in one end of the distillation setup, that on the other end, we would be able to smell it in an oil.
Well, I guess if something has a scent, you sort of assume
it can be
extract that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Incorrect, I guess.
Incorrect in practice. But we were 14 and didn't know that. So I remember telling my friends I wanted wood. And I was like, can you get me some wood? And they ventured out into the school grounds, middle of the day. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what.
I love how you made them go and do it too. You weren't like, I'm going to go get some wood. You were like, no, you guys.
I kind of made myself the lab captain. Jess Kay, if you're listening to this, I deeply apologize. But I was watching the Bunsen. So I remember I had a job.
So
it just wasn't
you weren't just sitting back.
No, but I could have gone. But I was like, can you guys get some wood? And they were like, yeah, no problem. Left and then came back an hour later, a really long time later. I remember being like, where are they? My teacher asked where they were. People were asking, and I was like, I don't know. I sent them off to get wood. And they came back with handfuls of mulch from the garden and they just put it in the flask. And I came back and I was like, there's dirt in my flask. Why is there dirt in my flask?
Look, to be fair, soil and dirt could smell really good.
Absolutely can.
Maybe that's where they were coming from. Maybe they were like, nah, with the wood.
Absolutely. And so, that's where we got our woody scent from. Yeah. And to be fair, we got fragrances out of all of them. Were they woody? Were they citrus? Maybe not. They were just a scent. that was in oil. And so we mixed it into our base, our alcohol base. And then I remember the research part of our EEI was seeing if people could tell the difference between our perfume and high-end perfumes. So a couple of girls brought them in from home. The lab techs brought in some of theirs from home. I remember they got Elizabeth Arden's Sunflower and Daisy, which,
totally
good fragrances.
Yeah, total. Classic.
And we sprayed them on strips, and then we passed them around to the class and made everyone double blind test and made sure that people to see whether people could figure out which one ours was. They could. Yeah, they absolutely could. Ours ranked dead last. I think we got an average of 0.1 star out of 5, which is abysmal.
It was a first go. I'm proud of you guys, and I wasn't even there, and I haven't even tried it. So do you think that that's where, after doing that, did you really like the process and enjoy it and love the idea of that the creating of it?
I think 2 things. I enjoyed making it. I really did enjoy making it. I liked the creative side. I liked the chemistry. The second thing was just that I wanted to be better. I was miffed, honestly, that I'd lost.
Why didn't you rank number 1?
And I wanted to know exactly what these perfumes had in them and, why they smelled better, apparently, why people were more attracted to them than mine. And so then I started looking into it, and then I learned about aroma chemicals and how they're made and how it's these scent organs and all these insane things. And then I remember thinking oh, well, no wonder I lost. The Elizabeth Arden probably had Maison Francis Kirk de Jean working on it. Can you imagine if you'd lost to a 14-year-old in a lab?
It'd be over, over. Just...
But yeah, that's how I got started.
I love it.
Strange story, but yeah, that's it.
No, I love it. I love the strange stories. And I guess what inspired you, to start your channel? Is that something that you just did in everyday life, or you really were super into fragrance and sort of working out what notes high, middle, and low, and that sort of thing? What made you decide you wanted to create a channel about it and talk about it and put it out there?
I've always wanted to do a visual medium something. So I've had 3 YouTube channels. I've done TikTok. I wanted to do marine science communication, which I still do on occasion. But then in the middle of lockdown last year, because I moved to Sydney about a month before we locked down. Harsh. Yay. I know. And I'm in a little apartment with no balcony. And so I lost my mind. Just a little. Just that much. And then I filled that space that I lost. And I was I was watching a lot of perfume TikTok. So one of my favorites is Professor Perfume, Nearly Nose Blind. They're all lovely, lovely people, wonderful channels. And I remember thinking, I'm really interested in this. Why don't I just make a video about it? And so then I just kind of did. And then I just kept doing it because I was I actually have more things in my brain that I need to get out because they're just sort of rattling around in here and really annoying me. And that was in the beginning how I was talking about it. It was just whatever I was really feeling in the moment. If I had something to say about a fragrance, if I had something that I was thinking about, I would make a video on it. And I still do, to be fair. It's just basically whatever I'm thinking about at any random time. Although, to answer your previous question, yes, I do get sent some stuff now, which is a financial blessing, to be honest, because perfumes are so expensive.
They are so expensive.
They are very expensive. And I appreciate it because part of what I do now, and I have to be aware of this because it's a responsibility. I give recommendations. I am very aware that people will listen to what I say and people may go out and buy it. Always sample first, though. I want to put that out there. Sample before you buy. Please make sure you love it, because if I love it, doesn't mean you will.
Absolutely. Well, something that I remember someone saying to me, is, and saying it back, it makes perfect sense, but I was like, what? Is that fragrance will smell different on everybody, and what you smell is totally different to what someone else smells. So something that I love, you might smell it and go, oh my god, and that would just sort of blew my mind when I remember being told that years ago and going, but it's the same stuff though, it's all the same stuff put together. Everyone's smelling the same thing. Absolutely different experience for each person. So I get your sample it, give it a sample, because
100% sample it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I do appreciate that I get sent stuff, especially from small Aussie brands, because I want to be able to talk to them. I want to be able to
absolutely
give them a base. I want to be able to talk about what amazing stuff's coming out of this country, honestly, and New Zealand, because I'm half Kiwi. And so I like to talk about small brands and indie brands that I just think are doing amazing stuff, but I don't have the money to buy a bottle of all of them. So I am hugely appreciative when brands give me the opportunity to smell and talk about their stuff.
That's wonderful.
I know it goes both ways, but like
I was going to say, can I just say, they get something out of it. So that's awesome.
Yeah. But to go back to what you were saying about perfume smelling different on everyone, it is absolutely true. And the science behind it is really interesting, because I remember I heard a lot of people talking about skin pH, and I was like, interesting, because I'm not sure if pH changes that much person to person. So I looked it up. It doesn't change that much, but from what I can gather from just my personal experiences with fragrance and people, they absolutely do smell different on people. And I think skin chemistry is a good way to put it, but it may be like your body lotion or your soap or your clothing or your environment. All of those things will make a fragrance smell different. For example, when I moved down from Brisbane to Sydney, everything changed, because suddenly there's not water molecules in every second molecule of air that I have. Muddying all my fragrances. Now I can actually smell them. And then also, it's also your subjective experience. So they can change on you physically, and they'll smell different on you than, like, to me, they will smell different on you than they will smell on me to me. But I also think a huge thing is our subjective experience. So the way you perceive a fragrance, I can't understand what that is, but it's also, there's no way of saying that it's the same to me, because it's like vision, right? Like, I can never say that I see what you see. I have no way of knowing that.
And it's all like, back to what you were saying about the science and the art, it's an art form, like it is art, and we all perceive art, all types of art, in different ways.
Oh, 100%.
We'll enjoy some, but not enjoy another, and that's our talking point, and that's that discussion which we love.
Like me personally, I love a citrus. I love citrus because I have so many good memories associated with citrus, lemons, oranges, sunshine, happiness. However, if you go on the Reddit fragrance forums, oh my Lord, they hate a citrus. They're like, oh, it's just another freshie. It's just another lemon, just another light blue. Like, I'm not interested. They are harsh on citrus.
Poor citrus.
I know. Favorites. That's why I like TikTok. A lot of the TikTok girlies are like me.
I just totally, like, I get it. Like, I am here for citrus.
I was so sick of the citrus slander. I was like, what is going on with you guys?
Very cool. I'm a big fan. I'm a very big fan. Like, just every day, like, cutting up a lemon, they're going, oh.
Right? Like, the
just
smell
walking around with
of lemon zest is so, I don't know, fizzy, bright.
For me personally, seeing as we all do smell things differently, but when I get like a lemon or like a mandarin sort of citrusy smell, I go between being wildly comforted but also wildly energized. So it's a very
That's it. Yeah.
Yes. It's a very odd juxtaposition. Like, it's a very odd thing that happens all at once, and it's invigorating. Like, it's really beautiful.
100%.
I'm so glad we nutted that out. Like,
100%. If people can't see me, I was like literally fist bumping there.
I know. I'm like, can we put a video of this somewhere? Like, so on that, how we were talking about how everyone gets scent differently, smells different fragrances differently. What do you think we need to know? So I'm going to bring it back into weddings now.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
What do you think we need, to think about when we're choosing a wedding fragrance?
Okay, there is so much stuff around this, and I did not even think about wedding fragrances until about last year, when I think I heard Professor Perfume talking about it, and I was like, ding, oh my God, that is such a good idea, having a wedding fragrance. To me, that is just like...
So many people do it.
Brilliant, because you want something... Okay, to bring it back to your question, you want something that is 100% you. 100% you that you love. Please make it something that you love. But I wouldn't make it something that's your everyday, because... And this is the thing that I've been seeing floating around that I think is just such a brilliant idea. If you use it as a tool... So you spray it on yourself throughout the day, on your hair, on your dress, on your clothes, on your whatever. And then say it comes around to your anniversary the next year and you spray it again, you'll actually have formed a memory with the scent. Like, your brain will have locked that scent in your memory of, oh, I wore this on that one day. And you'll remember it way more clearly, because we have your scent. The way we remember scent is in our, like, deepest core memories. I'm not sure if it's hippocampus or amygdala. I have a feeling it's the amygdala. I think it's in your amygdala because it's so closely related to your flight or fight response, which is fear, all that sort of stuff. Right in the middle. Our caveman brain. So then basically because scent has this amazing link to memory and can help us form long-term memories easier, I think having a wedding day fragrance, if you want to be able to remember all of your wedding really, really well and clearly, having a scent that you wear when you want to remember stuff is going to be a really cool way of doing it. That's what I see it as. That's what I got really excited about. I was like, oh my God, if/when I have a wedding, I'm going to be like dousing myself in one thing and then I'm never going to wear it unless I need to remember something.
Yeah. Well, because then you can it's not just about you wearing it. Like what if you're out and about and someone is wearing it?
Oh, yeah.
And you smell it and just go, I love that random sudden I remember really smelling this when we were having our first dance. Or I remember walking down the aisle and seeing you at the end and smelling me, because that's the first thing you're going to think about when you're walking down the aisle. But it's all around you. It's all part of the experience. And imagine just being out grocery shopping and someone walks past you and they're wearing the same perfume and you just go, oh, I'm straight back there. I'm picking out cornflakes, but I'm back at the aisle, or we're back having our cake, or we're back at our speeches. And
I think that's important, actually, what you're talking about is I've seen a couple of people say like, oh, if you have a wedding fragrance, it should be unique. Like you should, custom make it unique. And you totally can, but I'm not hugely into this, every fragrance must be unique. No one else can wear my fragrance. I'm the gatekeeping sort of side of some stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's such a fun idea is if it is something that other people wear, then you get to smell it on other people. That's kind of fun. And then you get all your memories.
Yeah. Just suddenly randomly thrown at you. I love it.
Yeah, 100%.
And so what we're talking about now, how you would go about picking it, but we're already merging into another question I had, which was about ways we can use scent in our weddings to invoke memories.
Okay, I'll do the first one first and then I'll go on to the second one. How about that?
Perfect.
Slow it down a bit. I'm going to go through some things that I think you should think about if you want to do something like that and you want to use fragrance in a way that's a tool in your wedding. I mean, obviously you can just use it for fun. You can just pick whatever you want.
Yeah, because it's fun.
So
it is
easy,
fun.
breezy.
So easy. Yeah.
But if you wanted to use it as a way to make it memorable, to have it as a special element in your wedding, then I would say you want something that is really you, that you don't see yourself getting tired of. So, for example, for me, I've always loved citrus. Now, recently, I've really been liking saffron. However, I don't know if I'm going to like saffron forever, but I've liked citrus since I was about 3. So that's a good thing for me to go, okay, citrus is a good plan. I say this because you're hopefully going to be wearing it deep into the future. You don't want to spray it and then be like, ooh, actually, don't know what I was thinking with that one.
Yeah. And now it's tied to my memory of my wedding forever. Yeah.
Exactly. Second thing I would recommend is maybe don't get limited editions unless it's for a really good reason. Purely because you can store them really well, and I highly recommend storing them according to direction. So cool, dark place, low humidity if you can. I'm a Queenslander, so I know that doesn't mean much up north.
So am I. I totally.
Literally. If it's humid, whatever. You can't make the literal air go under 30 degrees, so whatever. But as best you can, try and keep it good. But the reason I say no limited editions is because as a Queenslander who lived in a place where you couldn't just keep things forever, if it does go off, you want to be able to repurchase it. Even if it's a slightly different batch or something like that, you'd probably want to be able to repurchase it and get it later. So something that you don't see being discontinued or is going to be discontinued is a good way to go. An example,
something that's been around for a while, it's something that possibly that they've had as part of their collection for quite some time.
Yeah, that's ideal. Possibly. You don't need to do that. You could do just a regular one. You could stock up. You could do a bunch of different things, but just something that you're not I wouldn't go for something super unique and limited edition, because if you know it's going out of stock, then you've got that one bottle.
Yeah,
and that's it.
You have to stretch that out somehow. You have to make that last.
And that's kind of stressful. With the breaks. What if you have a cat? What if you have a kid?
I know.
What's the plan?
I have had a kid break a bottle of my very expensive perfume, and I cried. Luckily, I could get it again. Luckily, it's still there, but that moment when it shatters all over the floor. Full bottle too, so that was really fun. That's a really good point that I had not even thought about, was making sure that you can repurchase it. That is...
Yeah, if you can. Unless there's, like, if there's a limited edition one that just speaks to you and you're like, this is my
So be
set.
it.
You know, yeah, whatever. It's fine.
Probably.
But if you can, try and make it one that's you are reasonably sure will be around.
Yeah.
So, yeah, one of the classics, like a Chanel or, I don't know, I mean, mainly Chanel, to be honest. They're like, you know,
Yeah,
the
pretty
big
much.
players.
Yeah.
But something like that would be a really, really safe bet. Really safe.
Yeah.
However, as someone who's not super into Chanel fragrances, that's not a hard and fast. You can do it with whatever house you like. It's just longevity. And then, the other thing I would say is if your partner is also doing fragrance, hell yes, totally fantastic. You might want to make sure that they meld well together, because some of them do not go together.
Gee, that's clever. I'm
hugging
really
and be like,
oh, no.
even if it's like just for a moment, if you're just like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
it's
kind
enough.
of annoying.
That is, and you have this little niggle of, that did not work for me. Or if you're walking around speaking to your guests and everyone's sort of like, oh, what's happening here? Like, you know, that sort of.
So maybe go
So
get them
true.
together. That could be really fun. There's a lot of really cool ways to there's a lot of cool fragrance experiences. I remember for my partner and I's first anniversary, I took him to Jo Malone to do a fragrance experience.
I love Jo Malone. So that's
It was
my
lovely.
That's my fragrance that I have.
You
always
love
on
Jo.
tap.
They're good.
I'm a big Jo fan. Sorry, as you were saying.
No, so that's like a good fragrance experience. And I remember we were in Queen Street in Brisbane, and the guy there was so lovely. So, you know, shout out to DJs. And they were so sweet. And I remember we were really interested. Like, he had not been interested in fragrance at all. Zero interest up until that point. But we got there, and that guy was showing him all the different scents and how Jo Malone's quite basic. It's just what it says on the bottle, which I really appreciate. It's a really good beginner brand. If you could be a beginner, but, you know, if you wanted to get into the more high level sort of behind the scenes stuff, it's a good beginner brand.
Well, and sorry to cut you off,
please.
but just in terms of, I completely agree with that, because this is something I do love about Jo Malone, is that you can layer the scents and layer the fragrance, because they're literally like the most basic. There's so many of them, and they're the most basic fragrance I have, and I never layer it just because I love it so much. I have red roses, and I've had that for years and years and years. Now, my palette has changed in terms of, I love many, many different fragrances now, and I love and it's probably matured in that I'm not solely a floral notes person, but that one for me has stayed such a true one that I love. So I love that the idea is you can go in, it's a really basic sounds terrible for such a beautiful brand, but it's a really basic experience that you can have.
It's very approachable.
Approachable, that's perfect. It's a great place to start, because it's not like you're reading a bottle going, what is that? Like, although now sometimes. But I love that that's where your partner started. So you've gone in, you're about to have this experience.
Yeah, so I went in and I was like, hey, like, I want to get you a fragrance that you really like for our anniversary, because he'd always just been given them by family and friends. And to be honest, I did not like them. I was like, oh, man, Keith Urban stinks. Sorry, Keith. I was not
sorry,
into
Keith.
it. I was so against it. I was like, no, we're getting you nice ones. So we went in, and the guy was really nice. He was teaching him about layering. And I remember I was really interested in Blackberry and Bay, because I love me some Blackberry. I thought it was really nice. And I was also really interested in Wood Sage and Sea Salt. But I didn't say anything because I was being a good girlfriend and not inputting. But then Gabe ended up being those were his two. And I was so excited because I was like, yes!
Me soulmates! This is confirmed it!
I was sitting there like over the moon, like, hell yes. So I got him those two. And for the first like year or so of our relationship, he was just layering those two. And so now those two just remind me of like the second year technically, because I bought it for our first year anniversary. But like that time is what that reminds me of.
That's so special.
And I love them. They're so nice. To be fair, I need to find new ones actually, because
there we go. This is a good reminder.
doing that.
No, scribble it down. That's really beautiful. I didn't even think of how that's a really good point of saying you can make it this really special experience where if they don't already have a fragrance that is something that they love and they want to wear, or even you can actually, it's like not to the same extent, but if you're a couple who are going and buying wedding rings together or engagement rings together,
Yeah, similar idea.
this can fall under that same category. And because wedding planning is stressful.
I've heard.
Just going to put it out there like that. So I think any time that you can create romantic moments throughout it, I think is really important.
Oh, yeah. And there's lots of good ones. I think Mecca, I love Mecca. Just putting that out there. I'm a huge fangirl. They have a really fantastic scenting service. I think they may have only done it for Valentine's Day, but I'm pretty sure they had a couple scenting service at some point in time. Yeah. And they have an amazing range of niche ones and really fun things that you can try out. So that's another place. There's like Jo Malone there. I think a couple of other brands do scenting services. But yeah, those are my two recommendations because I've done them both and I thought they were fantastic. But going back to the core point of like choosing your fragrances, going together is a good idea because you can smell them together. And you can see how they work together and play together and whether you like them on each other. That's a kind of semi-important thing.
Slightly, yeah.
Yeah, it's slightly important.
It's such a good point. Do you think that in terms of like what to think about when choosing a scent, is your setting going to be anything to do with it, or is it just more about? I know that sounds weird, but I guess
no, 100%. So setting, absolutely. Mainly because I don't know about other people, but for me, what I want to wear changes. Mainly based on the weather. That's like a huge one for me. Whether there's sun or not, massive difference on what I want to wear. But also where I am. So, for example, I went to Kosciuszko National Park a couple of weeks ago, which was so exciting. But that also
very cool.
Very much changed what I wanted to wear. So I brought Ellis Brooklyn Apres. I had By the Fireplace. I had Haze from Who is Elijah. So all these like woody, fiery, you know, mountain smells.
Moody sort of.
Exactly. Because when does a girl in Australia get to wear mountain scents?
Exactly.
Ever. We don't have mountains.
I was like, what are you wearing?
Yeah, right? Like, I'll wear it in Sydney now that I'm here. But as a girl from Queensland, I did not get many occasions to wear, By the Fireplace and not have it be like, that's a
out
bit
of place.
Yeah, people
Absolutely.
would be like, are you meant to be somewhere else?
Yeah, just checking. If they have a really good sense of smell, they're like, oh, where have you been?
Exactly. So I think there's definitely a sense that people associate with different places. One of my favorite places I've ever been was Greece. And I love the vibes. I love the Mediterranean vibes. And bringing it back to weddings, I have now thought about what I would like as a wedding perfume. And my one that I've landed on at the moment, and this actually leads into my next point, is Under the Lemon Trees by Replica. I
did watch you with that. Is that, I have never
so good.
Sampled it, but is it just?
Highly recommend. To me, the first time I smelled it, I was literally instantly transported. It was like the first time I've ever had that with a fragrance where I was just like somewhere else. Yeah, and it was just, I felt like I was just, when I was a kid, reading was one of my things. And when we were in Greece, I used to sit under all these trees, mainly orange trees, because there's so many orange groves in Greece where you could get fresh orange juice made. And I was really little, and I was sitting there reading my Harry Potter book with my fresh glass of orange juice.
What were you reading?
Yeah. Harry Potter.
Yeah, Harry Potter.
Massive nerd.
Has-pot,
Yeah. And I remember I was like 7-ish years old, I think, 7 years old, and I was on a cliff over the ocean reading Order of the Phoenix or something. And I just remember being very peaceful. And this fragrance, and I'm actually wearing it now because I wanted to remind myself to talk about it. I was like, remember it. It just every time I smell it, it just
you're there again. You're back. You've left us.
That's why I think. So we were talking about Jo Malone being a good entry brand. So is Replica, because Replica, instead of just being like Bluebell or something, it'll say this one, Under the Lemon Trees, or Whispers in the Library. It evokes the imagery, which I think is also kind of easier, because for some people don't know what a Bluebell smells like, i.e. me, because they don't grow in Queensland. I don't know what that smells like.
I know what I've never. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So and then you sense it, you smell it and go, I guess that's it?
I'm like, okay, that's what a Bluebell smells to me now, but I didn't know before. Whereas with Replica, it's very much transportive. So it depends on what sort of you want. But that brings me to my next point in choosing your wedding fragrance. and why I probably wouldn't go with Under the Lemon Trees in the end is because it's my signature scent. I wear it like every day. I've kind of, well, not every day now that I do perfume stuff, but there was like a whole year where I wore it every single day. Yeah. And so I've sort of muddied the memory. So if you wanted to use it as a tool, I would make it something you buy specifically and wear specifically. And you're like quite mindful about what you do with it. Because even though I love this, I love it so much. It's not, I don't think it would work in the way that I would want it to work.
Because there's two sort of sides to that, isn't it? Because I absolutely agree with what you're saying, that if you want it to be a wedding-specific memory evoker, then choosing something that is still you, but not your everyday, makes so much sense. And then there are going to be people who have this feeling of, I'm getting married, but a wedding day, planning a wedding is stressful. Wedding days can be a lot and nerves can kick in and it can feel like a lot. So the idea that they can put on a familiar, comforting, blanketing feeling, say you were really nervous on your wedding day, not feeling, just feeling a bit out of body, just feeling a bit like there's lots of people, like it's a lot. Putting something on that is peaceful for you, that calms you down and takes you somewhere really happy, could also be a really great tool for calming nerves and for just feeling like yourself in this sort of, I'm going to say show, that sounds terrible, but like, they can be a big deal. No,
I 100% agree. It depends on what you're using it for. That's the big deal.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
There are no rules.
Yeah, it's you do, boo. Like, it's absolutely you. Like, do you think there are other ways that you can use scent in a wedding too?
Oh, absolutely. And I didn't really think about this until you guys emailed me, and then I was like, what would I do if I had A, unlimited budget, but B,
but that's good. I like that, because let's be honest. Like, not everyone has a great budget. Not everyone has this huge, and also not everyone wants to have a huge budget. So I think, I like the idea of having certain ideas that will go over an array of budgets and ideas, and I think that works well.
So other ideas that I had. Yes. First of all, let's say you're not into personal fragrance, but you still want to do the memory thing. Like maybe you get migraines or things like that if you wear scent too close to your body. Candles, girl, get candles. You don't need to get fancy ones. Yeah. There are candle influencers out there, so, they know a lot more than me. But to my plebby brain, I don't know, this is a Kmart candle I have in front of me because I like it. I don't know the difference, really. So
I don't think we need to be snobby about this, can I just say? Because I will, like, I'm not a candle snob. Like, if I like it, it's coming home. Like, I'm putting it on there while I do the washing up, or, or just sit there with a book, or, it's sit there while I try and calm my brain around my lovely children. Like, it's I think that's really important to sort of point as well. Like you're saying, beautiful Kmart candles, beautiful Target candles. Go to your cheap shop. If you love the smell of that, get 10 of them. Like,
you can do. I have a diffuser too. Like, if you want to make if you want to use scent as a memory thing at your wedding and you can't wear personal fragrance or don't want to, diffusers, candles, even say hanging up eucalyptus around the room. Very basically just trying to make one common scent throughout the space that will bring you back to it. However, if you weren't going for memory things and you were just going for fun, the other thing I thought you could do is, let's say you're like me and you love Mediterranean vibes. You're a Mamma Mia gal. I don't know. If you're really into Mamma Mia like me and you wanted to bring the Dancing Queen vibes. My thought was you could really go hard. Like, maybe we're not going overseas because that's expensive. Not everyone wants to. Not everyone has the budget. Most people don't have the budget.
But we're gonna transport ourselves there. We're gonna do the work.
So what if you could get something like me wearing Under the Lemon Trees, or having orange scents and just Mediterranean scents? In the same way that you would decorate a space visually, you can decorate it in scent. And I think that will add to the vibes, higher custom vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is so good because it's actually merging into the next question, which was, scenting your wedding and what this means and what it involves. So how to use scent at your wedding to invoke memories, but what are ways to use like different fragrances in your wedding. So what you're saying there about the Mediterranean sort of thing, that can be in styling as well. Like imagine if you have lemons or oranges on your table, you cut them up, you cut a few of them up so that it's like this, like crushed a little bit, and the scent is just sort of wafting around you. Or like you're saying, hanging eucalyptus, herbs. You could, potted herbs on tables. Like what else do you think? Like what are
well,
you mentioned diffusers, which is such a good one, and there's some really pretty diffusers now. Like,
oh yeah. I was not really in diffuser realm. I must admit I was really pretty firmly on Candle Train. And then when I started working with Scent Australia, who are fantastic, I really can only recommend them. They've been wonderful.
Yeah.
They sent me some diffusers, and some of them are so nice. I would not even thought to look for them, and now I'm
that's a diffuser.
It feels like actual stone, and it was. Yeah. I feel like I'm not fancy enough to have it in my household, but I love it. It's on all the time now. It just makes my house smell great. So I can only recommend them. They're fantastic. But yeah, so diffusers are a good way because you can sort of hide them and they fill the space quite well without having to have some burning, because some people are not super with the burning. Depending on what you like, there are different options.
Totally.
The other thing I was going to say, in the more just naturally occurring things that may be occurred connected to other things. So I've only been to 2 weddings as an adult. I've been to more as a child, but as you probably well know, it is not the same thing. It's not the same.
It's you have a totally different experience.
Yeah, 100%. But in the one I went to last year, it was just, gorgeous up in the Australian Alps. But it was freezing, so cold. And so what they did to keep everyone warm was have these giant fire pits.
Fabulous.
Which, absolutely fabulous. But the smell of the bonfire, and they had leather chairs, and it did really just encapsulate them as well. But yeah, that was one thing that did stick with me, is just obviously the vibes of the night, but it's all very tied in together, the scent of the smoke and the wood and the leather and the really cool, fresh mountain air, which I was not used to, obviously. As a Queenslander, you understand.
Yes. It's like it's like you're having a beautiful big glass of water.
Yeah. So refreshing.
And another thing I was going to ask, but I think we're sort of covering it anyway as we go, but, unexpected ways to add scent, ways that we would just not have thought, like you mentioned before at the wedding that you went to where the fires were burning, the leather, that woody, smoky sort of, that's a really unexpected way that you would not even think would add scent to your wedding. Do you think that there are other ways that we just may not have thought of that we can, unexpected ways that we could add scent to a wedding?
I mean, your food is one big thing. Pretty much everyone serves food at the wedding, right? Say if you were going with a citrus theme, I'm assuming you would put citrus in your food. That would just be base level party planning, I'm assuming.
Please do it.
But yeah, if you do think about scent, I think it can sort of come into every element, right? Because everything smells like something. Beyond, if you wanted to take it beyond just your own personal fragrance, then thinking about how does the scent of the food and the scent of the decorations and the scent of the room and the place I'm in, if you're in a new place.
The location.
Yeah, how does all of that string together? Does it string together? If it doesn't, can I manipulate that in some way? So say you're up in the mountains but you wanted to have a beachy style wedding. Yeah. Could you pump frangipani through the things? Something like that to just change the vibe a little bit.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think there's plenty of unexpected ways you can do it, but it's about thinking about it. Quite in all honesty, I've never planned a wedding, so I don't know all of the things.
Yeah, of the way.
Yeah, of the things that I just have no idea that you have to deal with.
That's what. And
invitations. That's a thing, isn't it?
Yes,
invitations.
it is.
You could spray your invitations.
If you
would
want
need to send something.
You can send something. That's a great idea. Pumping.
If you were going to send physical invitations, which I've always received, I don't know how big e-invitations are.
I think I've only had one e-invitation.
Okay. Yeah. So physical are the norm. If you're doing physical and you were okay, we're just going to go back to citrus because it's basic.
It's a good,
we're going to make our wedding smell like citrus and happy, fun citrus times.
Yeah.
Get it doesn't have to be a fancy one. It doesn't have to be the one you're wearing because that would be, a lot. Yeah. But just get a citrus fragrance and spray it on the invitation. So when people open it, they smell citrus.
I love that idea.
Wow, now I'm full into party planning. Now I want to plan a wedding.
I know. Well, because I guess another way now I'm doing the same. I'm going, oh, how can we do this? Like, if someone has a stylist or a planner, if they can go down that amazing avenue, like, is speaking to your stylist or planner about saying scent is really important to me. This is what I like. How can I, like, what are the styling elements and how can scent be included in that?
Oh, yeah. Ask an expert. Ask someone who knows where it can be implemented.
Yeah.
Both in budget, because we have to remember scent is expensive. That's one big thing. You can get cheap things like lemons, like just using raw materials, or you could get a basic perfume from like Chemist Warehouse for like $10. You could do that. But I suspect that a lot of people who are getting married, I don't know, I just suspect a lot of people would be interested in more high-end fragrances if they have a fragrance. Yeah. A lot of people are. And when I say high-end, I don't mean like high-end of fragrance. I mean, fragrance is high-end in itself. Like,
it is. It's a luxury, isn't it? Like,
exactly. I don't want to be talking about it like it's, super cheap, because it's not, and I know that. But yeah, if you were thinking of it, where are the best ways to implement it so that you get most bang for your buck?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now you can see me sort of looking off into the distance here as I'm doing this, because say you are someone who scent is really important to you, or you have a particular fragrance or scent that is, special to you and your partner. This is going out on a limb here of an idea, but like in some way getting like a little roll-on made, depending on how many guests you have, as a favour.
Oh, yeah. Like, that would be amazing.
That's your favour. It's just this small little roll-on of a scent. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's something that reminds them of you. They might love it. But imagine if everyone's sitting there at their tables going, ooh, this is my favour, and putting it on.
The cheapest way of doing that would not be roll-ons, would be you can get little sample vials off like eBay really cheaply. I have them for my lab, like where I actually make mine. You can get little 2 ml ones, and then essentially you just spray it in. So if you have the ability to get like an extra bottle to, to divvy out, we call it decanting in the biz. But if you have a bottle that you're ready to decant, then you just pop them into these little things, and then, that would be a really easy way to do it. Also, you gave me an idea. You were talking about things that are special to you or your partner. And I'm very aware that there's lots of people out there who have people who they would like to be there but can't be. So, like, for example, my grandpa, staunchly conservative man, the thing he was most excited for in my life was me getting married. And he would always be like, I'm so excited for you to get married. Now, there are elements to that which,
this
a little bit more progressive. But knowing that was something that he always wanted to do means that I really wish he could have lived long enough to do that. He was old, by the way. He's not he lived a great life. He just was old, and my parents are old, and so I was like I was like 18 when he died. So that wasn't going to happen. Sorry, Grandpa. But I know he would have loved it.
I don't know why we're laughing. Yeah.
Because he would appreciate that. He's
okay, good. I'm watching myself going.
He's totally fine. He's totally fine. He was a jokey man. He would have
larrikin.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that I was like, for people like me who have someone who I really wish he could have been there or could be there, if you got a fragrance that they wore or something that reminds you of them, like for my grandpa, he reminds me of roses, because when my grandma died, he planted a rose garden for her.
Stop.
And it was like her. I know. It's very sweet. He was such a sweet man.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, so they're her roses. They're still growing to this day. But yeah, so he reminds me of roses. He also gave me a lot of rose-themed gifts.
With that on, were you like, thank you? Like,
or
was it just nice?
Never personally into roses.
Yeah,
that's why my tone changed, because I was like, thanks. I don't actually like rose. Now it reminds me of him, so now it has a slightly better connotation for me.
And your grandmother, then, I guess, in a way.
By proxy. I think she probably wore rose perfume. She died when I was a bit younger, so I don't really know, but probably. Yeah. She was born in like the 1920s, so highly likely she wore a rose perfume. So if you were like me and you had someone who can't be there that you wish you could, and you have a fragrance associated with them, that could be a really nice way of just like bringing a little bit of them. And it's more of a personal thing. It's like not for everyone to see.
No,
it's just for you.
But that's the thing that I think gets forgotten about weddings. Like, yes, you're planning a wedding to have, and not everyone's doing this, but the idea that a lot of weddings are being planned with the idea of guests being there, and your family and friends are part of it, and you want to make the experience of the day amazing for them. But I think what gets lost in it all is the fact that you're two people getting married. Like, this is your day. So I think any time that you can inject little elements to make it more personal that not everyone may get. So whether it's a song that only you and your partner have an affinity for, like that playing at a certain time, and you look at each other and go, yeah, I'm seeing you there. We're hearing this at the same time. Same way, like you're saying, it doesn't have to include your partner and you. It could include a loved one who's no longer there or can't be there.
Yeah, that's just like another way you could use it that you reminded me of.
That's perfect. No, but that's
something I would
perfect.
do.
I think we've covered a lot. Look, at the last question we had, which I think you've answered, but was it just if you, because you were talking about the under the lemon tree and how that's your fragrance. Happy, how that's, your signature scent and how you probably wouldn't choose that. Let's say you're getting married tomorrow. What would you wear?
Oh, tough one. I would probably want to go find something new because I've worn most of my collection.
Yeah.
However, ones that I'm really would be in that category for me are Under the Lemon Trees, You or Someone Like You from État d'Orange, which I can't pronounce correctly, but that's like a beautiful lime mint.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, fresh. And Philosophos by Diptyque. Fig. Oh, my God. I don't know what it is about fig, but fig reminds me of weddings.
It's decadent. It's like
white. It's like the white fabric. That's what Philosophos reminds me of, is like pure white fabric, which obviously has connotations with weddings.
Absolutely.
Just is linked. So to me, fig fragrances, oh, hell yes.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much, Peter, for meeting me today and chatting about fragrance, which I think is just such a delicious thing. So
no problem at all. I've really enjoyed it.
That was really lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I've had so much fun time.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
Love today's episode? You can find more on polkadotwedding.com/podcast. We'd love to hear feedback, so drop us an email at podcast@polkadotwedding.com. Can't wait to hear from you.